Mirage 2000. I feel like I'm late on the boat with this plane, but judging by the planes that normally get selected online, I don't think I'm the only one. I wanted to share my thoughts about this plane and talk about its ability in multiplayer. If this is your first time here to this channel, I focus on multiplayer sim gameplay, so if you're into that, please subscribe. As the video title says, the Mirage is my new favorite module in DCS, so let me go into that. I definitely go against the grain in DCS Multiplayer. As a primarily World War II era gamer, especially in L2, I prefer maneuver fights, basically things that are happening within visual range. So I'm just not a fan of the Fox 3 fights. I know how to fight with Fox 3s, I get it, it's not my cup of tea. But I do like playing DCS occasionally, and with that, I typically gravitate toward planes like the Flanker or the MiG-21. Flying these planes obviously puts you at a disadvantage because you don't have the range to fight planes like Hornets and F-16s toe-to-toe. And to be honest, this is what I find to be really fun in DCS, and for me, it's the most fun thing to do in DCS. And it's not so much fighting at a disadvantage that makes it fun, but what makes it fun is the asymmetry in the fights. And I know in DCS a lot of servers seem to have the same planes available on both sides, basically. And what that ends up turning into is just aimed 120 spam. And I think what makes air combat interesting are asymmetrical fights. The enemy plane wants me to fight him how he wants me to fight him, and I want to fight him how I want to fight him. So we are really fighting over position, where like the flow of the fight and the maneuvers we're taking are trying to put the situation more in our favor to what suits our plane style. And to me, this is what is like the beauty of like air combat. And this is where the Mirage steps in. For being a late Cold War plane, it actually has fairly reasonably modern systems. It has an amazing RWR, a fairly decent radar, and the weapons on it are actually pretty good. So now that we set the stage, let's go through some sorties, and I can kind of talk through what I'm doing and why the Mirage is really good for basically playing on multiplayer. I'm flying on Growling Sidewinder. This is typically the server I play on just because it's the only one that has population 24/7. And I'm took out of the Beslan airfield, which is to the north, and of course in a Mirage. And the Red 4 players like to fly around in these mountains, which is great because I'm planning on flying on the mountains anyways. It doesn't matter if I'm flying against flankers or F-16s, like I would be flying in the mountains. And this would be the similar play style as flying a MiG-21 from my previous video, which is linked above. You want to stay off their AWACS radar, so you want to stay low, wait for bogey calls, and then pop up and engage. And the Mirage is especially good at this because unlike the MiG-21, you actually have like a real modern radar. With the MiG-21, it feels like you're flying around looking through a straw, trying to just find anything. And on top of that, your missiles are they're just really old and janky. And the missiles with the Mirage are actually fairly decent, even though they're only Fox 1s and Fox 2s. So I've entered the mountains. I'm keeping an eye on my RWR and on my radar, and I'm looking for the bogey dove calls to see what's going to come in. Now, one interesting thing about the Mirage is that the RWR, there's a missile warning system, and it does let you know that if an IR missile has been shot at you, which is great because typically you only find these, I think the A-10 has one and the SU-25, but this plane has one. So if you're flying around the mountains and you get snuck up on, you'll get schwacked by an IR missile and not even know. This would happen to me all the time in the MiG-21. But with this plane, like you can really live down here in these canyons and actually feel relatively safe. So this bogey call, my tracker is screwed up for a second. My AWACS is called a contact. They're about 45 miles away, so they're still quite a ways out. And I'm cruising over toward them. And all of a sudden I get locked up by something somewhere to my right. So I start dumping chaff. And I throttle up, and now it's launched, and I dip behind this mountain. And this plane can turn really well, and then it can accelerate really well. So I'm guessing this is delayed because I've already ducked behind the mountain. So I've already evaded this guy's attack on me. And I'm able to pick him up for a quick second, and then I lost him. And you see on the radar that little yellow symbol. Basically, this This radar system basically it has a memory. So if a radar contact drops off, it'll leave it on the radar, and it's kind of a nice visual aid for you to pick things back up. It's not like, again, like the MiG, I'm going to say this all the time in this video, it's not like the MiG-21 where you have no idea where someone went or where they really were in relation to you. You have to really remember in your head. So again, another missile launch, or another lock on me. And I see there's two things behind me. There was a friendly back there. So I'm throttling up again. You can see the PC marker on the top right of my cockpit. That's my afterburners. Duck behind the hill again. And because not that the AWACS is good, DCS, but I'm assuming that it's safe to say these guys are flying low in the mountains because my AWACS doesn't really call them out all too much. Now they just did 059 for 1 at 13,000, so he's basically on top of me. Really good targeting abilities for the ACM modes. You have vertical scan and horizontal, and also a bore sight, so it's really easy to pick things up. And I'm just flying around, turning with my great turn rate, and using the vertical scan to try to pick up anything. There we go. I see a contrail, so there is fighting over there. And I'm about to turn into it. And I'm still in my vertical scan, and then I'm able to pick something up as I'm turning over because I picked it up. And this plane has the ability to tell you the range of the targets, which is great, so you're not using too many missiles. One bad thing about this plane, I mean, it's not every plane's perfect, so the bad thing about this plane is that it only carries 4 hard points. So you get 2 Fox 1s and 2 Fox 2s. So that was a MiG-29 splash, and that only really happened because I was able to get a missile warning on me, and because I was able to my plane to be able to accelerate quick enough to get up around a hill to shield myself from his missile coming. And I'm able to pick up another target. He's very, very close. And I duck behind the hill because he's fired. And now I'm going to turn into him now that I have the hill to cover me. And I should be using vertical scan mode here, or horizontal at the least, to try to pick him up if he were to fly over. Luckily I pick him up visually. Now, watch this. So he definitely saw me when he passed over, and he's cranking it, but I'm in the Mirage, and with these Delta Wings, I mean, without even trying, you can just yank your stick back, and you're going to be able to outturn pretty much everything, which is why this plane is so great, because along with the modern systems that you have, along with the fairly modern weapons that you have, this plane actually maneuvers like it's on crack. You can pretty much outturn everything without trying. Sustained turns after multiple turns, you'll slow yourself down too much, and then you're kind of like a turtle. But for a single turn, you're going to pretty much beat them. And if you have this really good system that tells you about when IR missiles are coming, then you're pretty much not going to get caught with your pants down. So you fly around low, you wait until missile warnings come, or you pick something up on radar. You hide over a hill or past a hill, and then you whip it around with your great turn rate, and then you should be able to get guns or a missile on target. So all in all, it's actually a fairly good plane to fly. So let's talk more about the maneuverability in this plane. Now I'm locking something up. It looks like we're going head on, pretty high close rate. And I need to be careful because I have a lot of friendlies flying around in this area, and there's definitely a lot of enemies. So to get this guy cold, I let one off, he fires, and I immediately, again, duck it for a hill. I'm fast, I can turn well. I believe in this plane's ability to reach ground cover before his missile gets to me, and I do. And you know, we're going to do the same thing here, and I want to mention something. For those people that are used to flying the MiG-21 and the Su-27 and doing the canyon fighting on Growling, or just on any DCS server, I think you'll really like the Mirage, and I think you'll do really well in the Mirage, because you're going to have, it's the same tactics that you're applying, but you just have more modern systems to use, and that's why it's great. I do lock up another target here, and this is a friendly, so I don't launch at him. And something is locking up me. I think it's actually this friendly. And I'm going to extend from this friendly. He's barreling it right into me, and I'm praying that he's not going to fire. For those people that are flying the F-18s mostly and F-14s, and you never really do canyon fighting, I think the Mirage would be a good time for you just to start learning. You know, I love the flanker to death. It's also one of my other favorite modules, but I think the Mirage is really easy. So, friendly was chasing me and locking me up and focused on me, and friendly gets splashed by an F-16 here, who zipped on by. So I turned right into him. I did a very bad job here of not expecting his turn, so I should have been rolling over to the right. And again, Delta Wings are OP. I'm whipping it around. Almost to the point where I've slowed myself a little bit down too much, which you should be careful with in this plane. And one thing I want you to keep in mind with this sortie is that when you're flying a multiplayer in DCS, you're flying against mostly DCS players, and most of these people aren't used to really doing maneuvers or just flying planes. Like, they're used to managing systems, because so many people are just using Fox 3s. So, you know, if you get into a knife fight like this and you're flying a Mirage, you should be able to walk over everyone. I think this was like my second sortie when I was second or third sortie in the Mirage, and I got behind this guy pretty quickly. My missiles he's able to shed my missiles because I basically shot them at very poor angles, and I pretty much have almost stalled myself. I have my afterburners engaged, trying to pick up some speed. That was a very bad shot to take. That was kind of stupid of me. This guy's doing a good job of flaring. He doesn't know that I'm out of missiles, and I just start spraying. And there's a gun skill on F-16. You know, I think catching these DCS players or people that are used to Fox 3 fights, like on the deck, when you're in their face in a Mirage, like, they're just not used to being in that sort of scenario. And because of the Delta Wing designs, the acceleration of this plane, like, you can pretty much get behind people, and I'm getting gun kills actually fairly consistent in this plane, more so than any other plane, and I don't know, it's pretty fun. Like, I'm a fan.
Overlord 1-1.
So I've been hyping this plane up a lot. I'm excited by it. Excited to the point where I actually made a video about it. Even though I don't have that much time to this plane. Let's talk about the bad. So you have 4 pylons that can carry air missiles. That's kind of a bummer. You will get rammed down if you get into a long fight with many enemies. You don't have Fox 3s, which can be good or bad. And the INS alignment sucks. So I've been flying this mostly on Growling. If I were to fly this on Blue Flag, where you have to fuel your planes and align everything, I don't know if this would be as fun, because I think the INS alignment takes like 5 or 8 minutes or something ridiculous. So that's kind of a bummer. Maybe they have hot starts there or faster starts. That'd be nice. And just to top this off, I wanted to show this other gun kill to drive the point home. Like, some people in this game just don't know really how to maneuver in fights. This guy, I caught him, got behind him, and he ends up lawn darting himself in. I'm a big fan of this plane. I hope you guys feel a little inspired to maybe try this plane out. It is a Razbam module. I have a rule for myself that I do not buy unfinished modules anymore. Only buying stuff from the ED store when it's actually done and fairly close to 100%. So from what I can tell from playing this plane for maybe a week now, it gets my stamp of approval. I'm not getting paid for this or anything. This is just me saying this as a personal opinion, but I am having fun in this plane, and I think other people could have fun in this plane. And I do encourage you guys who are at 45,000 feet lobbing your AIM-120s, like, come on down to the canyons with us. It's fun. It's a little bit different. And again, just as a closing thought, like the asymmetry in fights is, I think, what makes air combat really beautiful and really interesting. So try it out. Please like and subscribe if you found this video interesting. I'll probably make more Mirage videos when I get some better time into it, but I just kind of wanted to share my excitement, and I hope you guys like this. Have a good one. Thank you.